People often say, I have $1,000 to spend on a watch. Where should I look? And my answer is always one brand, Christopher Ward. In my opinion, there is no brand offering better made, better designed, and better finished watches at that price point than CW. Not to mention their 5-year warranty and fantastic customer service. So when Christopher Ward reached out and offered to lend me a watch, I was absolutely thrilled to partner with them. And the watch I wanted to see most was their brand new Aquitaine GMT. And they sent me the newish C63 Sealander GMT, which, to be fair, was my second choice. And it was a watch I'd been contemplating purchasing for myself before I picked up the Vero Open Water at a ridiculously good price a few months ago instead. And I have to say, the C63 does not disappoint. Is it perfect? No. Is it excellent? Yes. So let's look a little more closely at this newish GMT from Christopher Ward. The first thing you're going to notice is that the C63 does fit within a type of sports watch produced by more than one established brand. Certainly this GMT takes inspiration from Rolex and even Grand Seiko. Even on their own website, they wink at their inspiration, saying, the classic GMT Explorer watch finally makes its Christopher Ward debut, and it's everything you hoped it would be, and more. But this inspiration is not a bad thing, because it emerges from a classic and stunning design which CW pulls off with their own sense of flair. For one thing, they utilize their signature light catcher case for the smallish 39mm GMT. And I have to say, between the Explorer 2 and the C63, I have to give the nod to Christopher Ward here. The case is absolutely beautiful and so well finished. And I think in many ways, that is one of the things that CW does so well at this price point. The finishing is at such a high standard compared to many at similar price points, or even higher sometimes. In fact, I'd say you'd have to jump up to Explorer 2 levels before you really start to see a large jump in quality. Is that hyperbole? Maybe. But listen to what other reviewers and owners are saying, and you often hear the same sentiment repeated time and again. CW just sets a high bar for an entry-level offering, especially when you consider that nowadays you can spend the same or more on a Seiko with alignment issues and far coarser finishing on their cases. And let's not forget the movement. CW uses Swiss movements in all of their current lineup. Entry-level Swiss movements, usually from Sellita, but Swiss nonetheless. And with that comes a certain expected level of accuracy, especially with their chronometer certified offerings. Now the C63 here is not chronometer certified, but it is running just a few seconds fast a day, which is excellent for a mechanical watch. Behind the sapphire caseback, you can see the Sellita SW330-2 GMT ticking away with quiet dignity. The custom Christopher Ward rotor proudly displayed for those who enjoy that sort of thing. Just 4.1 millimeters thick, the SW330 has 25 joules, beats at a rate of 28,800 per hour with a power reserve of up to 56 hours. The central GMT hand can be set independently from the hour and the seconds hands. Looking more closely at the dial, you have to notice right off that it, like the case, is a light catcher. The hands and the indexes are beveled and angled in various ways to always be reflecting a glimmer back at the wearer. And that can be both good and bad, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. You might be tempted in a certain light to think that the hands and the indexes are done in black, and they're filled with Superluminova Grade X1 BLC1 for visibility in low light. Well, you'd be right about their choice of lume, but wrong about the color of the hands, which are both brushed and polished stainless steel, meaning that they can appear black or almost disappear depending on the angle of the watch and the amount of light in which it finds itself. The broad and angled fixed bezel marks at 24 hours for the GMT hand, which makes one revolution during that time frame. The GMT hand is black at the base and transitions abruptly to orange halfway up its length, culminating in a broad Explorer 2-esque arrow. The seconds hand contains the sometimes controversial trident that CW loves so much, but what won't be controversial is the crisply printed logo at 12, at least for the crowd who doesn't mind wearing someone else's name on their watch. The date at 6 is almost always my preferred location if a watch absolutely must have one. The crown is signed with the Christopher Ward signature twin flags logo, paying tribute to its Swiss and English roots. And of course, you can get this on either a strap or bracelet. The bracelet is impeccably finished and employs quick release on the solid end links and also a ratcheting adjustment on the clasp. Both make wearing the watch a pleasure, especially if you like to swap your straps frequently, as I do. So, what are my picks and my nitpicks? Well, for my picks, I would point to the case design and finishing, as well as the overall aesthetic. It's just a rugged yet beautiful watch that is also simple and highly legible. I also appreciate that it has a screw-down crown and 100 meters of water resistance, which means I can take this swimming without worry. And that is something you really want in an everyday watch, especially one that is meant for exploring, too. The 5-year warranty and the great customer service will give you peace of mind. Personally, I have utilized CW's customer service with my C65 GMT, and while it did take a couple months to get it across the pond and back again to the frozen tundra we know as Canada, the procedure was painless and communication was great. But no watch is perfect, so I do have some nitpicks. First and foremost, it wears a little thicker than I'd like it to. I'm not saying on paper that it's thick at all. It's only 12 millimeters thick. And this is not a dress watch after all. But I guess I'm used to the way my C65 GMT wears. And this style of bezel from one particular angle looks a bit mushroomy. I go so far as to say that if they slim down the bezel, this would be a near perfect watch. I also noticed that in certain lights the hands can disappear a little bit due to their reflective nature. And I don't know if this is a big deal, and I'm not even sure I'd want to change them, but it should be noted. Also, the Sellita SW330, it doesn't hack, and it can be a bit tricky finding the middle position, at least on my review model. But of course, at this price point, it's hard to expect a true traveler's GMT movement. Speaking of price, this comes in at around 970 pounds, or around $1,175 US. But do not pay that price. Christopher Ward always has sales, and even right now they have coupons for $150 US, which should bring this beauty right down near that $1,000 mark. And if you're patient enough, you can often find great sales at least twice a year in the summer and the winter on older models and even nearly new stock. And if you order one and you don't like it, well, simply return it and you get a full refund. It's a pretty painless procedure. But honestly, I think if you see one of these in hand, you're going to have a really hard time wanting to return it. Well, I'd like to thank Christopher Ward for loaning the Sealander GMT into the channel. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Hey, please like and subscribe and yada yada yada, because it really does go a long way to propping up my fragile ego. Have a great day.